you as a former teammate of the coach and a former agent of the guy who he says is the guy who runs the offense through, with Draymond Green and Steve Kerr, what are those guys thinking? Because the Warriors are going to be able to, for the first time in a long time, wear the mantra of nobody believes in us. What do you think they're thinking? What is Kerr thinking right now up in Golden State? BJ, your former teammate.
Well, I think Steve is going to be faced with the thought process, or if you will, going down the path of what most teams are figuring out, like, who is this team? I mean, this is going to be the first time really in Steve Kerr's career that he's going to come to training camp and have to find out what his team is capable of doing. You know, when you have Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, Kevin Durant, you're just coming there to get conditioning, right? Now he's going to have to come and find out, how am I going to use Steph Curry? Is Steph Curry now going to be a primary ball handler, or is he going to be a secondary ball handler? How am I going to integrate D'Angelo Russell? What am I going to do now with Draymond Green? So he's got to really figure out who his team is and then be able to implement that. You know, the one thing about Steph Curry I think is going to be interesting to watch this year is that he's going to have a new role, unlike any role he's had in the last 5 years. And I think that's going to be very interesting for him.
What's that?
We don't know, because now you have another guard, another all-star guard that's going to be playing right beside him. And they both are going to need the ball in some capacity, but we don't know how this is going to play itself out. You know, Steph is an accomplished player. I think he will be more willing to kind of accept whatever the role is, but D'Angelo doesn't have the same, he doesn't have the same, I don't think, confidence to take a back step. Take a step back at this point of his career. But we'll find out. I'm sure they'll figure it out as the season goes on. But in the West, all the teams that you mentioned, if you take too much time, you could be on the outside looking in and not even make the playoffs in the West, because the West is tough. I mean, it's going to be a tough time for them to figure it out.
I just think that the Warriors will obviously have that growing pain, who are we type October, November, maybe even December. But still, when things, rubber meets road, you still have Draymond and Steph. And we'll see what Russell looks like. Maybe Steph goes in the Klay role. I know obviously not defensively, but maybe I don't mean to sit here and play X's and O's in that regard. I just think that they're going to be, when Klay gets back, as expected, like a hell of a 5 seed or a 6 seed or a 4 seed that you do not want to see first up
Golden State
in April. Yes. Like I think that's the way this thing's going to play out with Golden State.
I'm going to say this about Golden State. I'm going to say it here. Golden State's played a lot of basketball over the last 5 years. And, you and I, I'm sure, you like myself, you can't ever forget the hard work that goes into working out every day or getting on the treadmill. Mm-hmm. You're going to ask Steph Curry to exert an awful lot of energy this year to be a 5 seed. And you can't forget how much energy he's been able to exert over the last 5 years. This isn't like a 24 or 25-year-old kid. Steph is like 30 years old, right? He's approaching in guard like the 31, 32 year is kind of like where you don't lose a step, but you're not gaining, you're not moving as fast as you once did when you were 26 or 27. So I would be very careful about how I'm going to monitor his minutes this year, because he's played so much basketball over the last 5 years, in particular in the playoffs. He's got to be closing in probably on 150, maybe 200 games in the playoffs. That's a lot of basketball. And then you're going to ask him again to put in that type of energy during the regular season. I would be very careful how I manage him this year, because it's going to be different. Okay, he's not going to have a Klay Thompson that's going to guard the Damian Lillards, the Russell Westbrooks. He's going to have to do that this year, which is going to require him to do something that he hasn't had to do, which is to take that defensive matchup during the regular season that Klay Thompson and Draymond Green and those other guys, Andre Iguodala, were able to do, which kind of alleviated him some of the energy that was necessary for him to run around on the other end. So I think you have to be careful. If I was Steve Kerr, I would be very careful this year.
Be fascinating. He already scoffed at the notion of load management. He scoffed. He said, hell no, he doesn't want it.
I agree with it, but you know what? Father Time
yeah,
Hasn't
Undefeated,
lost.
right?
He's undefeated. He's not going to lose.
For more of The Rich Eisen Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV for free on BR Live or download the Rich Eisen Show app.